Well, let's get into locations then. I mean, I kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to reach out is because I love your page, I love your account, and I love
Thanks,
the
man.
photos you take, and I just kind of want to learn more about you and your film location experience and what kind of movies you're into and all that.
Yeah, man. Well, for me, it kind of started. I'm quite new to it, really. It started in like 2019. I was living in Calgary, Alberta, so I'm originally from the UK, based in the UK now, but was spending a year or two in Canada, and I'm a massive fan of Fargo, both the film and the seasons.
Sweet.
And then I'd been in Calgary, I'd been in Canada like 3 weeks. Had my first day working in this hotel, like front desk reception, and the manager was giving me a tour around the hotel and was like, oh, and like that they shot us a Fargo scene right there on like the table, like the chair. And I was like, what? Like, this is, first of all, like, I'm a huge fan of Fargo. Second of all, you're telling me they filmed it right there. Like,
Oh,
I
that's
just
so
couldn't
cool.
believe it. I'd heard a few things saying that, like, some of it had been shot in Calgary, but I never kind of imagined that it was going to be where I was working. Like, they'd done some pretty
Yeah.
big, like, have you seen it, the
Oh
seasons?
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot of the first season. Like, I mean, in the program itself, it's saying that it's Vegas, like there's like
Right.
a little elevator chase scene and stuff. But it was all where I was kind of working. So obviously, I took a photo in the hotel where like one of the scenes was. It's still one of my favorite photos actually. But then like started going around Calgary to like the different neighborhoods of where things had been shot, and just started visiting the locations. And I'd seen one or two people on Instagram, kind of obviously people that do like like the scene reveals of like what it looks like in the film and what it looks like, from the photo they'd taken. But then I've noticed one or two guys had been doing like basically they'd hold up a photo from the scene itself and like have that image match around the red like the backdrop. And I was like, that's like the coolest thing I've ever seen, man. I was obsessed with it. So like I just gave it a go one day. I looked at this location from Fargo. I printed it out on like the computer at the hotel. It was super windy because it's Alberta. And so like I glued it to like this bit of cardboard basically just so like the photo wouldn't like flap around in the wind. And then I just went there one day and I tried it and it worked, and it was like kind of the start of an obsession really.
Sweet. I mean, that's awesome. I was gonna
Yeah.
ask you about that because it doesn't look like it's on cardboard or anything. I was actually gonna ask if it
No,
was windy or how would you handle
yeah.
that, but
That so I haven't done many more of them like that. Like, so what I do is like I'll go through a film or a TV program, and I'll find the bits I want to use, or I'll take the
okay.
images from Google or something. Unless it's going to be like really cold or windy, I normally just go and get the photos printed at a store or something and do it that way. But yeah, like there's a couple of times where I've like, God, I've set off that day, looked outside and been like, oh, this is gonna be super cold. So like got an old box of cereals and just like cut around it and like stuck it
Oh, that's so
to the
genius.
photos. Yeah, it's just like I'm not very DIY. That's about as DIY as I get.
Right, right. I'm not either. That's why I
um,
do the, top and bottom photos like everyone else. So.
yeah.
But
So yeah, that kind of started it all, and like, and and sort of while I was working there, like at this hotel, I just had loads of free time, right? Because obviously, like the Fargo thing started it. I had loads of free time, so all I'd do, like on the computers in front of me, would just be like researching all these locations. Like I knew I was going to be going back to the UK pretty soon, so I was just building up like a really big list of like places that I wanted to go to and take photos. I was in Calgary and I was like, nothing else is filmed here apart from the Cool Runnings. And like, I kind of had a go at doing a
right.
photo of that from the airport, but they don't really work because they're from like, that's in the 80s. So the image quality I just don't tend to go with it because I
Hmm.
don't know, I'm a bit of a perfectionist.
For sure. Yeah.
So yeah, I just started building up like a big bank of research of locations that I'd want to visit when I came back to the UK, and then just sort of started ticking them off really.
Cool. That's awesome. Do you have a favorite location that you visited? I guess anywhere or UK based or
Yeah. When I came back from Canada, we flew via Paris. We had like 2 days in Paris, me and my partner. And basically my life now is just me convincing my girlfriend Claire to go to a place,
Me too, man.
and then about an hour before revealing all the film locations that we'll be going to while we're there. She's like, come on, I'll take you to Paris on the way home, you're gonna love it. And then, like, got there and I was like, right, Inception was filmed here. It's this
Okay.
beautiful bridge right by the Eiffel Tower. She's used to it now. But yeah, that was like, I think it was kind of exciting because it was like the second place I'd visited, like location wise, and I love Inception and Christopher Nolan anyway. And so I was like, oh yeah, it would be really good to do these places. But we'd actually been to Paris a couple of times before, so it wasn't like there's all these landmarks we need to tick off. It was like, what else can we do?
Sure.
And it was kind of like the first time I realized that, like, you go to one of these locations and they're actually really, really quiet because they've been chosen, because there's no one around and there's no traffic and stuff. And it was like the first time I'd actually set foot in a place in Paris that didn't have a huge amount of people and traffic.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, like I was kind of a bit nervous at that point, thinking who's going to be seeing me holding these photos up in midair, and what's this guy doing, and there was just no one there. And the architecture, it's that scene where like all the buildings are like falling down, and Leo's character's like showing Ariande like what she can do with, like, the power of her dreams and all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty like eye-catching scene anyway. And it was just, I honestly felt like I was in a movie set, and I don't always feel that way when I'm going around taking photos. Like sometimes I just feel like I'm on a street somewhere or whatever. But I was like, I feel like I'm in Christopher Nolan's world here.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so cool.
And so that was probably my favorite location, was this one in Paris. But to be honest, like, they're all amazing. Like, it sounds really cliche, but like,
no, I agree with you for sure.
Just that, like, I went to, obviously a lot of the stuff I've done now is like UK based. So like, I'd love to get to the States and do more. So I'm kind of a bit restricted in that sense, but I've been to places in like Scotland, like the Harry Potter Bridge where the train goes past. And I was like, the first time I'd done a location where, like, in my photo, where there wasn't even any like characters in the photo, it was just the train. But we were up in Scotland for a couple of weeks, and I was like, I wanted to do some train spotting locations.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you do those? Did you do those train spotting?
Yeah, I went to the street. I went to the street where, like, he runs down quite a like a busy, the main street in Edinburgh, basically. But yeah, and then ended up doing Harry Potter as well. So it's so vast where that bridge is. It's incredible. Like, really, really, really impressive. I also went to some like London locations as well. I'm not even the biggest Harry Potter fan, but like, there's some pretty cool places around London that they've filmed in. I mean, whenever you're going into London as well, it's always quite exciting to find a location. But then, like I say, like I kind of enjoy a little different aspects of all of them. Like when COVID was really strong and everyone was like, on like stay in your city kind of vibes, I started like looking at what was in Birmingham, and like the Peaky Blinders has put Birmingham on the map. But
oh yeah,
a lot of Peaky Blinders was filmed in like Manchester, Liverpool, and places like that. So like, those are still on my list. I've been to a Liverpool location, but there's a few in Manchester I'm going to do soon. So yeah, like, I started looking at what was in Birmingham, and then like there's a program I watch, which won't be known in the US, called Man Like My Bean, and it's like 10 minutes from my house, and I was like,
no way,
I can just walk there and like take the photo and come back. And that's always like, that always amazes me, man, when I'm just walking to a film set. And
right. And like, you probably didn't, I mean, sometimes, like, I mean, growing up especially, or something, you're walking around and you have no idea, and then you look it up, you're like, wow, I've seen that every day, or for years. And it's so fascinating. But
stuff that's just like not on my radar at all.
Crazy.
And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, like I can walk there. It's in the middle of town, and there we go. So I just kind of like the buzz of doing it, really. Like, just like the day that I'm going to do it, like, I was very kind of nervous at the start, just for like just because it takes a little bit of time just to like get the photo like in front of me and like really line up where it needs to be in the shot. So sometimes you do have people like walking and passing by and stuff, and
you're
I
like,
remember
come
like
on, I'm trying to do something here.
yeah. Honestly, I'm not just like crazy. Or maybe I am. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, I remember like when I came back from Paris and I'd been back in the UK like a month, and I was like, maybe that's just who I was when I was traveling, you know, taking these photos and stuff. And I was like, no, I'm going to do it. Like I really enjoyed it, and I went up to Manchester to go to a music like festival.
Sweet.
And there was a couple of locations I wanted to do, like a TV sitcom called Fresh Meat.
Okay.
I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it. My first one in the UK. It's really, really easy one, just like a little housing estate. Started taking the photos up. And this guy just walked past. Like I saw him look at me and I was just like, he walked past and I heard him just say to his partner, like really aggressive Manchester accent, like, why is he taking a photo of a photo? I was like, oh man.
You're like, I don't know, but I love it.
I don't know, but I'm addicted to it. So yeah, leave me be.
That's so cool, man. I love that. That's something I've like, after talking to some people, like I found like all of us are just so passionate about it, which is one of the reasons like why I got into it as well. And like, it's so cool, social media has really kind of brought us all together, which is awesome. And talk to other people. And I didn't realize how big of a community. I mean, it's not huge, but like it's bigger than I thought it was.
Yeah, it's bigger. Like I thought there was like one or two people doing it, and then kind of the more you dig, there's I don't know. I've picked up on probably about 100. You might know more than me, but it seems like there's quite a few people doing it in their own different way as well, which is kind of cool. There's a few in Europe. Like I know there's an Italian guy or gal that's like going around doing loads of Italian locations, and there's obviously like loads of you in the States that do it as well. And it takes a lot of dedication really, like to do it on a consistent basis. So like, it's kind of nice, like seeing that other people do it as well. Like, and knowing it is like a bit of a community and stuff. Cause a lot of the time when I was like when I first started doing it, that was how I was finding most of like the locations I was visiting and stuff, was like, oh, someone's been there. And like, that's the thing sort of thing. Whereas now, like, it's completely changed where I'm watching a movie or something and like I'm like 5 minutes in and I'm not even concentrating because I'm like, that is an exterior shot in London. I'm going to find that. What's happening with this plot, by the way? Because I've just like been on my phone, like looking at where that was filmed and can we go sort of thing. It's embarrassing. Like,
no, I love that. That's awesome.
Completely changed the way I watch stuff.
That's fascinating. And that's, something I love talking to you about it because, I'm trying to get more locations from the UK and just that general area. And, there's so many out there that I have no idea.
Where do you want to visit in the UK?
Like, I want to visit everywhere, honestly. I've never been. My girlfriend went to Italy a couple of years ago and she loved it. But like, I want to go to London because I have a friend there. And I know Hitchcock's house is there. So I'm a big Hitchcock fan. So I don't know. I honestly just want to go to Europe in general. But the UK is top of my list.
I think you can spend like 5 days in London and just go to a completely different site every time. Like, my kind of rule is like, I don't go anywhere or like I don't take any photos of something I haven't watched and something that I haven't like connected with. Like I don't just want to walk around and take photos of things just because I know there's a location that exists, because then it's like selling out, but it doesn't do anything for me. Whereas when I'm like standing in the feet of like a show that I love and I'm like, oh my God, like I've seen that program like 700 times and now I'm standing in front of the house where it's set. Like it just means more. So I kind of
I feel you like there, man. I did. I'm a big horror fan, and like I did the new Halloween movie came out, in 2018, and I did like a tour, a VIP tour where we went to all the locations, and just being at the original Myers house was just like unreal. Like
because you connect with it, right?
It's a feeling you can't describe. Like you were saying, it's just like this thing. You're just like, wow, I'm like in this spot. These people were here. It's unbelievable.
It's really nice as well. Like it's nice having photos where like other people have seen it and like they're like, oh my God, like that's so cool. And then on the other side of things, it's kind of nice just going to a place that's like not that many people have heard of, but it means a lot to you, sort of thing. So
for sure,
like like there's lots of different things to like love about it for me. Like
100%.
I think like I've started to really enjoy the research process of it. Like I really I really like every stage of like, like I've normally like I'll watch something, I'll be like, I recognize that, or that looks like a location that's viable to get to. And then like I start looking into it, and there's like a little local news article that's covered it, like they were filming in our town sort of thing. And then you start searching a bit more, and then sometimes there'll be a perfect blog where all the addresses are listed for you, and then other times you've got to like go rooting through Google Images and Google Maps to like try and find them, sort of thing. So yeah, I kind of like the challenge in a way.
Right.
Yeah, like I noticed when I was listening to the podcast, actually, like a few of the guys had been to like studios and stuff. I think you said yourself had been to one as well. I can't remember which one it was. I haven't actually been to like a studio for that. So I really need to get to like the Harry Potter studio or something like that. But,
Man,
yeah.
I would love to do that.
Yeah.
But
maybe,
yeah, no, you're sorry, go for it.
Maybe that's too easy though.
Yeah, but I feel like you should check it off. It's an easy check off.
Yeah, it's an easy one.
And it's Harry Potter, so I'm a sucker for Harry Potter. So
yeah, and there's so many locations that's when it gets difficult, because they're like, like the kind of vast green sort of like landscapes that they use in like Scotland and stuff. It's like you've got to be really, really like particular to try and find those spots and stuff.
Oh,
so
100%. I want to go. Have you seen The Wicker Man, the original Wicker Man?
No,
the 70s.
I'm not a big horror fan.
Okay.
No.
Well, there you go. It's really good, but it was shot in Scotland, and that's like one of my bucket lists to go to. Like I would just love to do that. Oh yeah. But do you have any like bucket list items or like locations you really want to hit?
I really, because I haven't done any of them in the States, so like quite a big bunch of them in the States, but
just a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. I'd really want to I really want to go to some Forrest Gump locations.
Yes.
Like I'd really like to do some of that. I know a lot of them are like, the thing with me is I get a bit addicted to them. So like if I know that I can't visit them yet, I don't look into them just yet, because I'm like, I get like, oh, they're out there and I can't go yet. But I know that like a lot of the house and stuff wasn't, like it was just made for the film and that's been knocked down and stuff. But I think like where he sits on the bench and stuff, like I think that's a real place, and where the bus goes with like the feather and stuff, and
and where he runs on the bridge, and then
Monument Valley, right?
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
And I actually went to school in Savannah, Georgia, where they shot the bench scene.
Oh, right.
So the bench was right near my school. I mean, my school was like, it's cool because Savannah is really beautiful. It's like historic and haunted and all that. And I went to art school there, film school, and we didn't have a campus. We kind of the buildings were kind of just spread around the city. Okay. So, I would bike by that location like all the time, and it was just so cool. And,
that's cool.
Even I've seen it a million times. I'm like, dude, this is great. Tom Hanks sat here, I think it's so cool.
That's where he was, man. That's where his chocolates were.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, like I'd really like most of the ones I want to do are in the US. And like when I was growing up, like one of my favorite films was Groundhog Day. And I've seen a couple of guys go there and take photos of the locations and stuff, and it's like Woodstock, Illinois, I think. It's not like Gobbler's Knob or wherever they say it is.
Right.
So like that one, it is on my bucket list, but I'm just not sure I'll ever get there, because like I keep looking at it on the map and I'm like, I don't know what else I'm going to do other than go to this location. And how am I ever going to, like, it just seems really far away for me. Like, I don't know if it'll ever happen.
100%.
But
there's a few like that. Yeah, there's a few like that for me. It's like, horror and like Texas Chainsaw. And we went to Texas, and luckily my girlfriend's parents lived there. And, it was like a 45 to an hour minute drive just for the one house, and it's like the middle of nowhere, Texas. And it's like, for your situation, it's like, what are you going to fly to, Texas, rent a car just for that, like, I mean,
exactly.
Granted, there's a lot of other locations around the area, but like there are a few in the middle America where you can get to, but it's just like,
I do try and like use my time well and build it into part of a trip. And that's always kind of like the exciting part for me. So yeah, those are kind of like my at some point, like I'd want to go, but like how realistic, I don't know. Then there's a few in Europe. Like have you watched a film called In Bruges?
Yeah. Oh, I love In Bruges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so really, like my films on location sort of journey started in like 2016, really, because that's the first time I researched a lot of locations and walked around a town and looked at them all. But like, I
Gotcha.
wasn't doing my photos then or at any point. Like, I was just like a fan.
Mhm.
So I really want to go back there and take my photos and like get that scene.
Mhm.
Well, a load of the scenes really, like, and it's not too far from me either, really. So yeah, I'd love to go to In Bruges. That's kind of
Awesome.
like that's top of my bucket list, and it's top of my achievable bucket list.
Yeah. There you go.
Hopefully, I can go soon. Like,
Actually doable.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's actually doable, and I don't know. I get a kind of I like ticking off like another country where I've taken photos. Like,
Yeah.
I think
Totally.
I'm at like 3 at the minute, like Canada, England, Scotland. Oh, France, 4.
Hey, there you go.
So,
What was in France?
that was the Inception. That was
Oh, that
the
was okay.
Paris stuff.
Oh, right,
Yeah,
right, right. Paris,
yeah.
right.
But I do want to go back and do Amelie as well, like a bit of a
Oh,
classic French
yes.
film.
That would be so good.
I did actually no, I did take one Amelie photo, but I was like, I think we only had 36 hours in Paris, and I kind of prioritized Inception. But I went to
Right.
the cafe where Amelie was shot,
Oh, cool.
and that was brilliant because like the film's from 2001, but like the cafe just hadn't changed. I mean, obviously they probably want to make as much money out of it as possible, which is
Right.
fair enough. But yeah, like the interior of it all, like it was great. Like in my experience, I found like the older the film, like the more likely it is the two have all changed in the background, and that's when like
Totally.
the photo lining up thing doesn't really work out so well. So that was kind of nice to see like a almost 20-year-old film location, like
Yeah.
still looking exactly as it does, sort of thing. So
Right. Totally. No, that's awesome. Yeah. I feel like
yeah,
that's something that like, it's hard to kind of figure out. I mean, I guess you have Google Maps, but like,
some
you know,
things you don't know, do you,
you
until
don't
you go.
know. Like,
No,
I know like New York City has a lot of like scaffolding and construction. And I know there's some
yeah,
locations that are just completely covered that you can't get to, or, there's a big fence or anything. It's hard to kind of gauge that unless you've been, but I love when they look the
yeah,
exact same, like you
exactly.
were saying. And it's always a treat when they like kind of thrive off of that. Like I feel like some people just don't
Yeah,
like it, or when they buy a house, they hate the visitors or whatever. But which
yeah,
I get. I mean, it
that's a
could get
tough one, isn't
annoying.
it? Yeah, because
Yeah.
like whenever I'm whenever I'm going somewhere like that, like a domestic site sort of thing, like I try and
Always
be as
awkward.
respectful as possible. Like I
Yeah.
ended up in this strange pattern of just going to train stations lately. I was just like,
Oh,
and
cool.
every time I was like looking to do a photo, I was like, that was on a train station. That was on a train station. And I was like, at least I know it's a public place, and like
Right. Right.
I'm allowed to be there and stuff like that. So yeah, it doesn't always go so well.
No.
And yeah, just like the frustration of getting to a site and it just like it looking completely different or something.
I
That's why I
know.
kind of try and do as much research as possible.
Right.
Really,
Well,
and
that's
like
cool.
most of my photos tend to take place like outside, just because they're normally like
Right.
accessible locations and stuff. But I did do one place in Liverpool for Peaky Blinders, which was St George's Hall. It's like quite a big scene takes place there, and it's like this grand old building. So like you're allowed inside, but you're not allowed on like the ground floor sort of thing, which is where the
Gotcha. Okay.
scene took place. And I just kind of like started walking and opening doors and stuff. And all of a sudden I was just there. Like I genuinely didn't go, I genuinely didn't like cross any lines I wasn't supposed to. And I was like, oh, this doesn't feel right. Like there was like 100 people just like looking at it from above. And then it was like me on the ground floor. Like, so I'm pretty sure I'm not meant to be here. But I was like, got my photo out
You got
quick.
to
I was
do
like,
it.
shh, took
That's
it.
great.
Security guards came and I was like, oh yeah, I'm good. I'm off. I got what I needed. It's
Perfect.
yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing. I love when that happens when it's like, I mean, maybe you're not supposed to be there, but it still kind of worked out for you.
Yeah, I got a few, like less successful stories as well, where like I take the photos and like the place just looks completely different. Or
Right.
like, the worst thing is like when there's a big, massive like truck or car right in front of like where I want to take the photo, and it's like that's the one thing like I couldn't have accounted for. Like it's just like such a minor detail, but you get there and you're like, oh, God, I'm gonna have to ask this guy to move his car.
Right. I know. And it's always so weird too.
Yeah.
It's always like, hey, like I'm just trying to get one photo.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
but
feel
like
that.
I've had some like really happy accidents as well. Like I was in Cornwall last month actually, another kind of situation where I was like, come on, let's go on holiday, and oh look, here's a film location.
Oh, great.
And yeah, it was like About Time. It's a British
Oh
film.
yeah. Oh yeah. We love
Yeah,
that movie. Yeah.
oh, it's so good. Like Richard
It's amazing.
Curtis.
It's so underrated.
It really is. Like I'm not the biggest rom-com fan. I can appreciate a decent rom-com,
Same.
but it's also like a life com.
Oh, it's a super life com for sure.
Great. Did I just coin a phrase?
Right.
It's got some great messages in it, hasn't it? Yeah, so I was like looking into that because I knew that it was shot in Cornwall in some points. It's like beautiful south coast of England. I'd never been before. And I started looking into it, and it was like, yeah, the wedding, it was shot in this church. I was like, okay. And I looked at it on the images, and I was like, oh, that doesn't look right. It doesn't look like what it looks like in real life So I did a bit more digging, and it turned out like the exterior shots were shot at that church and the interior shots were somewhere else. Sure. So I ended up going to the exterior shots just in case the church was closed or whatever. And it ended up being like this tiny little village in Cornwall. It was the last day of our trip. We spent every day. It was super busy because it was the English summer holidays. No one can go abroad right now. And then we just found this little fishing village like on the coast with like 20 people there. And it was probably the highlight of the trip. And then got to do the photos as well. And we met this random guy who had all these stories. And I just, days like that, I like get back in the car and I'm like, none of that would have happened if I wasn't putting myself out there doing this. And those are kind of like the nice moments, really.
For sure. Oh, yeah.
They overcloud like the rainy days when you just
most definitely
there in the freezing cold. So when did you start?
So I've always been into movies. I'm a big movie person. I went to film school. I've always been to movies, and then I went to a field location as like a kid, but it didn't really click with me. And then when we were in Portland, Oregon, the other two guys on the podcast, we all lived there together. And for my birthday one year, there was like 6 of us. We all flew to Northern California, to Sacramento area, because I really wanted to go to Sonoma County and then Bodega Bay for locations for The Birds as well as Scream. So we kind of did a little trip for that. And it's also a wine country out there. So it was like perfect. We could like wineries, and then we could hit the Scream locations and then hit the coast for, the Hitchcock movie. And so that was like my trip for my birthday, and I loved it. Yeah. And so we were out there, and one of my buddies, Joe, the other Joe who's on the podcast, he's a developer. And we were like, because I was on Google and stuff, writing these down, I'm sure as you've done before in a spreadsheet, the locations and hopefully that's right. But I was like, it might be easy. We could just make a little database for, at least for us to kind of just visit these easier. Cause like, I like the research part, but I also appreciate the people like you who do the research and all those Google map searches and everything. And cause I can do it, but I, not super in depth with it. And then we're just like, hey, we should do this. I have this, dozens of spreadsheet pages of locations. Let's like make all this into one database and then just put it into like a little app or something, and we can do that. And then
the app's great, by the way, man.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I had a little look around it, and it's just like it's so user friendly. Like it's great.
We're trying to.
I think it'll only grow.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And we're trying to, we're in the process of redesigning it because I designed it and I'm no designer. So I'm just like the most basic thing I could think of. So, hopefully in the next.
But it is really easy to use. That's the
good. That's all that matters. And I know people, like you were saying, people are into the whole research aspect, which I also love as well. And so this could be a tool for people who don't like that as much, but I know some people are still on the lookout for doing their own research.
Sometimes it's nice, man. Like if you just want to, like you're in a city, right? Like, you just like look at something and it's there and all the info's there for you. That's nice as well. Like don't get me wrong.
right, totally. But yeah, and that's something where else they're trying to do is like talking about like if a place looks different or if it's the exterior versus the interior or something like that. We would love to have like almost live updates. Where it's like, if you look on it, it's like, hey, this isn't available right now, so don't come. Like if you're going like an hour out of your way,
this is a construction site now. Or
exactly.
Like,
so we're trying to do that, more of that type of thing as well, because we've had issues with that. So
that's fair enough.
But yeah, that's kind of where my story started, is in California, and then from there on out, just hit a bunch of locations in Oregon. The Shining Hotel and the Goonies was shot in Astoria, Oregon.
That's weird because I'm not a big Goonies fan, but like I was on a page the other day and it was like a photo. I was like, I recognize that, and it was the Goonies at Cannon Beach, and I was like, I was at Cannon Beach, like that was like the last place I went to in Oregon before I started heading back up to Canada. I was like, even like I wouldn't have taken photos there, but I'm like, it always frustrates me when I was like, oh, I was at a location and I didn't know about it.
right.
As a super part of the world as well, by the way. It's really nice over there.
It's gorgeous.
Are you into Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul as well?
I have seen, I want to get more into it. I've started a few episodes. I need to get more into those.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like I love TV shows, but I'm more of a movie person.
Oh,
It's like it's
okay.
harder
That's
for me to
fair
start
enough.
shows just because like I
Yeah.
know the commitment and I know I will probably like it. So like I'm have to like, okay, this episode's 40 minutes and there's like 10 episodes. I'm like, I could do
Yeah.
this, but I do
Yeah. At the
really
start,
appreciate it. And yeah, I
yeah.
love Bryan Cranston. I mean, I know I need to watch it. It's
Because
on my list.
this is like that's kind of like also top of my bucket list, and so much of it takes place like outside as well. Like there's
Right.
so much of it like not hidden away in studios and things like that. And I just think there'd be so many locations to visit,
There's so
and
many.
I'd love to star on that. Like I'm not gonna go and chuck a pizza on a woman's house, but I'm
Right.
gonna do
Right.
my bit. And,
Yeah,
yeah,
which is
see.
probably, and they built that fence around. I don't know if you've heard about that house though. They built a fence around it because
Oh,
people were
really?
actually throwing pizza boxes on their house,
Okay, yeah,
which
I
is
knew,
such a bummer.
yeah, it just it kind of spoils it a little bit,
It
right?
really
But
does. It
yeah,
like, and that's something like especially with the app, we're trying to like get across is like,
this
private
is someone's
property is
house, like
private
yeah,
property. Like
yeah,
you can go up to the sidewalk, but don't go on the, I
yeah,
mean, you can ask them if you're lucky, knock on their door, ask them, but
yeah.
don't like,
That's what I've done in the past, and like
right.
normally, like the ones I've been to, people don't know that anything was filmed there. Normally, I'm telling them like, like they've bought the house recently or something like that. I'm like, no, there was a film here, like, and they get it even less when I'm turning up and like asking to take a photo of their house. Like at least the people that were there when there was a film there were like, all right, you're a fan, so like, yeah, okay. when
Right.
they don't know it exists, it's like, oh man, I got to start this from scratch. Like,
Oh, for sure. And I feel like it'd be kind
yeah,
of, I don't know, for houses, like you're just holding up a photo to their house and you're kind of like, have you
yeah,
had any
like
issues with that before? Like, have people come out and talk to you?
yeah, but it wasn't an issue in the end, but like it was when I was doing like Birmingham locations, just because I was
Okay.
locked down and I was just kind of delving in, and I was in like a residential area basically, and like the one scene kind of takes place in front of the house. I wasn't on the driveway. I was like, there was like an alleyway next to the house, so I was there taking the photo, which is where like the camera would have been, so it
Mhm.
was fine. But obviously I was there for like 20-30 minutes trying to get this right shot. And in the end, like a guy comes out. This was when everyone was at home, like no one was leaving the house. Like I knew there was going to be someone there, but he comes out and he's like, "Why are you taking photos of my house?" And I was like, "Oh, no, like it's first of all, he knew about the show, which was
Okay.
amazing because it's quite like one
That
of the
helps.
smaller shows I've covered." He was like, "Oh, okay." And then I show him photos of what I'm doing, and he just ended up following the page. Like that
No
was
way.
like a
That's
success
awesome.
story. Like I mean, it's cool for him because I've done a photo of like of his house. Like it's
Sure.
as long as he likes me, it's cool for him.
Right. Right.
But yeah, other times like it's a real mix. Like there's a really popular show in the UK. It's set in Wales called Gavin and Stacey,
Okay.
and it's iconic in like British comedy of the last sort of 15 years. So like I went there last summer, and like a lot of it's shot outdoors as well. Like you go on this road, and like a lot of it takes place in this one woman's house. And I got there, and it's the first time I've ever been to a location where it's basically signposted that this is where it was filmed. Like she loved the attention in a way, and
That's
like
awesome.
I think she does like tours around a house and stuff, and like
Whoa.
that's kind of person that's like really embraced it. I
Mhm.
don't think the people on the street love it so much because it brings a lot of unnecessary traffic to the area, and like
Right.
the kind of boring stuff. But so yeah, like that was great going around there because she welcomed it, if anything, and you get to talk to her, and like she tells her stories of the show and when the actors have
That's so
been there, and you
cool.
just pick up little snippets of information really. And I even found out like there was going to be like another episode like that they hadn't been released yet because they'd been filming there. It was just
Right.
that was cool.
That's
um but no, like I haven't had any like really bad kind of scenarios really. Like
yeah.
I'm always shocked at how unbusy the places I go are, but like I said, I think it's because they choose areas to film where there's less
Right.
people, less traffic, and stuff like that. So
It's probably
most of the
cheaper
time,
too.
yeah, and cheaper, yeah. So and I kind of like you, I work in video production as well,
Oh,
and
you do? Great.
yeah, like the best thing is when you get somewhere and like you got 20 cars and you can all park. It's
Dude,
like they
it's
think
such a
about
game
these
changer.
things. Yeah, it's a game changer. So like the more places I go, the more they're just like really quiet areas, and I don't even expect them to be. Sometimes they're like off a side street of a main road, but it's a really quiet road, and that's where they shot it, sort of thing. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
What do you do in video production?
I'm a production assistant at the minute.
Awesome.
So I work
cool.
for like a social media publisher.
Sweet.
So just like sort of viral videos and things, but then like we do like branded videos as well, like commercials and stuff for construction companies.
Great. Do you have any like are you interested in like post-production, pre-production, production?
I like the pre-production and writing and stuff like that.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
But I genuinely would like to get into locations and stuff. It's just not really happened yet, but I'd love to do it. Like I'm keep trying to convince my company to let me be the locations guy, to be honest.
So cool. I mean, you're perfect for it.
I'm perfect for it, man. I didn't even mention this, but like this films on location thing that I do like got me the job as well, like where I am now. Like it's one of those things, like if you got anything extracurricular that you can kind of talk about, and it's like, well, part of my job now is to find locations for things. It's not a big part, it's probably like 10%. Like we need a studio or we need an outdoor space, can you find it? So like that was a really good thing to be like, well, actually I do this in my spare time. So yeah, one day they're going to make me the locations guy, and that'll be brilliant. My life will be perfect.
Oh, that'd be so cool. That's something that I would love. I mean, we've had filmmakers reach out to us before, and they're like, "Oh, this would be actually kind of a cool tool for location scouting." I mean, that's a whole nother world, but like, it would be kind of cool to have. And I'm sure they have apps for that and stuff, but it would be kind of cool to have something like that.
There's a really thin line on Instagram of people that are like followers of movies like you and I, and then people that are looking for locations
right
for work, and it's such a thin line. Like when I'm looking at like pages to follow and things like that, and it's like, oh, these guys are actually doing this for work. Like I'm just doing this to kill an afternoon.
100%. Yeah, it's like fun. I look forward to doing this every day. So yeah, but that's super cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, but lots more places to visit. That's the kind of like one of the things I love about it, is it's never going to be complete, is it? Like there's always a new movie, and there's always a new location to go and see, and like it's just one of those things that's just a constant. Like it's great. And yeah, like on a day where I'm going out and I'm taking photos, it's like, I don't know, it's a really good feeling. And I like traveling as well, so like it's not a chore to go to new places, but like when worldwide travel like sort of really opens up again, like I just think it's gonna go off for me, because like there's gonna be so many places that I want to go that I've got written down to go and see. Like there's this program called Killing Eve.
Yeah.
You seen that? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And like she just goes around everywhere in Europe. She's like in Russia, she's in Portugal, she's in Paris. Like I just want to go on all of those places, like take those photos. So yeah, that's for another day, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
I did listen to like some of the podcasts, but I know
thanks for checking it out.
Like Taxi Driver, man. I don't know if you can see the
no
way!
Dude, that's so cool.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, like things like that. They're just they're really old, aren't they? So like location wise,
and it's been New York City, so it's like so much has changed with that.
Yeah. But the other one I really want to go to is there's just the list is endless, but Into the Wild, and like The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, just like big outdoor like locations. Like I love hiking and climbing and things like that, so like those kind of ones are always the ones that draw me. But yeah, Into the Wild, like I want to go to Alaska, and when I go, like I'm gonna go and see those sites. It always impresses me like how many people in like the film location sort of community get around and like go to these places. Like there's this one guy, Steve, I feel like that's all he does all day. It's incredible. Like he's always at a new location. I love his admiration for it. Like
I wish I could do that.
Is there much filmed where you are in kind of Minnesota?
A little bit. I mean, I've basically done
Fargo
most
was
of it.
shot, like film there, wasn't it?
Yeah, there's a few shots around here in Fargo. I've been to a couple Fargo locations. I mean, there's like Mighty Ducks, which all the 3 films were shot here.
So for you, every time you're going out, it's probably like you're getting a plane somewhere, or
essentially, yeah. Because I've done basically everything here that I'm aware of, at least. So
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And
I
then
just gotta
like,
hit.
I guess when you get to California and
Oh
LA,
my
like
gosh,
there's
New
just so
York and
much there,
California,
isn't
it's
there?
and
Yeah.
Atlanta even, and Vancouver.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah,
it's all
Vancouver as
like.
well.
So I gotta get. I want to do an LA trip, but I know I have to make like a week. I have to like book
Yeah.
a week or something. More than
That's
that, I mean.
yeah. Like my girlfriend keeps asking me to go to New York, and I'm like, you don't understand. If we go to New York, I'm just gonna go around film locations for 5 days. Like, you think we need 5 days to do like the Rockefeller and all that? Like, no, we need 10.
No,
We need
right.
5 days for me just to do Home Alone 2.
Yes, I love that. I know Chicago's like 6 hours from me, so I definitely have to get. I'm actually going in August, so I'll have to hit up
Oh,
some of
you're gonna go to
those.
Chicago, yeah. You're gonna
Yeah,
get the big Home Alone
dude.
house, and
Oh yeah, I
I,
gotta do that.
I imagine a lot of Ferris Bueller's in Chicago, isn't it?
Yep, most Johnny Hughes films are. The
Yeah.
school is most. I think all of Ferris Bueller was shot in Chicago. So
Oh, you'd have a great time there then.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But
Cool.
well, cool, dude. Yeah. Well,
All right.
if you ever want to be on the podcast itself, let me just,
Yeah, man.
you can review a
Yeah.
movie, pick one, and we can talk about it. So
Yeah.
we'd
No,
love
you
to
know what?
have
That'd be
you.
great. Yeah.
Yeah,
Count me in for that. Yeah.
for sure.
All right.
Cool.
Nice one.
Yeah,
Good
man.
chatting
Well,
to you.
yeah. Thanks again for chatting with me, and you know what? We'll stay in touch over social media and talk soon.
Yeah.
We'll have you on the
Sounds
podcast.
good. Thanks for having
So
me on.
yeah, man. Cool. And if I'm ever in Birmingham, I'll let you know.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say,
Be
Peaky
sick.
Blinders, we'll go and do a tour.
That'd be so sweet, dude. I'm definitely down.
That'd be cool.
But
I need to do it anyway.
yeah, for sure. But cool, man. We'll be in touch.
Cool. Sounds good.
All right. See ya.